Hey y'all, it's Burgess Taylor, our Journey with Burgess, and I'm back with a little bit of chat. Well, actually, it's going to be a little bit more than a little bit. Well, we're going to talk about mindset and self-talk, positive, negative, and that was requested, so I'm diving deeper into it. Just fair warning, I am not a psychologist, therapist, psychiatrist. I am not a professional. I am just somebody who has experienced quite a bit of this and I've got quite a bit of experience with these. I have anxiety, depression, ADHD, chronic pain. So I have experienced quite a bit of the negative self-talk and the negative mindset. And I've been trying to, over the past years, find things that will help me break out of that. So, trigger warning, if you have anxiety, depression, if you have a lot of negative self-talk. If you have ever experienced any of these things, you don't need to raise your hand. You could just nod while you're watching the video. Being ostracized, bullied, chosen last for board game, PE, volleyball, dodgeball, last for something family planned. If you've been passed over, been told that you weren't good enough, or implied that you weren't doing something good enough, or that you didn't know what you're doing, even been told that you weren't good enough, that you didn't do things right. A lot of us go through that. I spend a good amount of time in my head. A lot. I hear that voice, the monkey on your back. Some people have actually called it different things. Some people have called it the judge, and that is an accurate description because you are being judged. You are judging yourself. You feel like you are being judged. As a child, I was often told, either in person or implied by or on report cards or anyway, you talk too much. You don't pay attention. You need to stop interrupting. You talk in circles. Get to the point. Just get to the point. You ramble. You're lazy. You're impulsive. You're disorganized. You distracted easily. Restless. Impatient. You're always losing things. You have trouble following through on tasks, projects. And those are a lot of the symptoms of ADHD. But I was also made to feel like I was inferior. That I still some family members hover and tell you what to do when, I've been doing some of these things for a long time now. I mean, I'm about to be 55. I'm a grandmother. I think I can figure out how. So that monkey on my back, that judge, the inner critic, started talking to me way back then. Like way back then when I was little. And as I grew older, that voice got louder and louder and more distinct. Sometimes even harsh. I learned some things, and there are lots of different things that help. There are these things called the R's: retreat, relax, recognize, rethink, reset. So you pause, walk away from, take a break, step back, relax, breathe, in, out, be conscious of your breathing. That gives you a moment. It's almost like meditation. It's a calming effect. So it allows you to take a moment and actually consciously, because negative self-talk is a subconscious kind of thing. That enables you to recognize that inner critic, that's your monkey on your back, the judge telling you these things. Which, taking that moment and recognizing, hey, this is the judge, that's the monkey on my back, that's my inner critic. Now what do I need to do? So if you've recognized, so now it's time to rethink. So you can make a plan. You can tell yourself certain things, like thinking in black and white terms. You're perceiving everything as either one way or the other, like that no in between thing. What can I do? Or maybe you're catastrophizing. You're assuming that the worst case scenario is going to happen. So you have to recognize, actually think about if somebody were to say this about themselves, how would you react? If a friend talked about themselves that way, you would counter that negative with things like, oh, that's not true, da 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 da, with points to prove that that's not true. If you can analyze your own thoughts via logic, then it works pretty well, but sometimes it's hard to do that. One of the things for me is having a plan of action already set into place. Whenever I get that way, I'm going to rethink. So I'm going to make a plan. I'm going to have a list. I'm going to do something. The reset gives me some time to work on said plan and with actionable steps. Some of these actionable steps work, some of these don't. Depends on the day, depends on the mood. But I have found that repetitive actions are actually more calming. What works for one person may not necessarily work for another person. But I think that sometimes it's more or less negative self-talk, negative mindset. It's about your attitude. Mark Twain said, a habit cannot be tossed out the window. It must be coaxed down the stairs a step at a time. None of this is going to happen overnight. We have to change things step by step, bit by bit, little by little. There's a YouTube channel called Therapy in a Nutshell. And when I first started researching this, I found a video by them about negative mindset, negative self-talk. And she said, just because we think something doesn't mean it's true, but how we consistently think leads to how we feel. And Tony Robbins said, how we feel has a big thing on our physical and mental behavior. And if we want to change something, we have to change all of the above so that it doesn't become a cycle. Because you can change one thing, but if you don't change the other things, it's not going to help. So we need to change the focus by asking better questions. Is this something that makes me miserable? Is this something that makes me happy? Is this something I'm proud of? What causes the negative self-talk and the negative mindset is more or less fear. It's a state of fear. We need to change that emotional state, that fear state. And in order to do that, we need to have a radical change. According to Tony Robbins, we need to go but beyond just saying it. You have to actually make the changes, the behavior, the physical behavior. So he talks about your head up, hands on hips. He actually gives this example of a Superman, Wonder Woman, Superwoman kind of pose. Hold for 2 minutes. And he said it changes your reaction. It changes your thought. I've been trying that since Saturday when I started it. And it's made a difference so far. Let me know if you do the 2-minute Superwoman, Superman, Wonder Woman pose. You know, I am proud. I feel good. I feel good. You know, instead of telling myself, well, I'm not good at that, I'm telling myself, well, I'm learning that. That feels good. I like this. I'm enjoying learning. And you change your wording. If you change your wording, make your wording more positive. Julia Cameron talks a lot about changing the negative self-talk to the positive self-talk in morning pages. I don't think you necessarily have to do morning pages to do that. I think you can do it journaling, period. But I do think that when we're in that half awake, half asleep state, if we are doing the kind of writing that comes from our inner dialogue, our subconscious, I think it's easier to pick up on those cues that, hey, this negative talk, this negative mindset is there. This is what I need to work on. These are my skewed thoughts that I need to actually pause and determine, is this accurate? What is clear and true? I found a quote, and I thought this was interesting, by David Taylor Klaus. My husband's name is David Taylor. Words matter, and the words that matter most are the ones you say to yourself. And that is so very, very true. What we are saying to ourselves, it makes a huge difference. Sometimes we have to consider whether we're actually blaming ourselves, whether we're assuming the worst. Is this anxiety related? Is this a form of past, something that we learned and that we need to unlearn? Like being told that you weren't good enough, or that you're lazy, or being chosen last. Those affect us longer than we think. In order to not be a victim to my negative self-talk, my negative mindset, I have to make changes. I've had to make changes. So let's go back for just a moment and let's talk about what these actually are. Self-talk is what we say to ourselves. It's our inner dialogue. It can be positive or negative. Sometimes it's a bit of both. It can sway one or the other. Sometimes it comes from, like I said, our subconscious. It's our thoughts and beliefs and patterns of behavior, and it could also be influenced by things like anxiety and depression, mental patterns that we have developed because of those things or because of other things. Positive mindset means that you're optimistic about the world around you, that you expect good things will happen. So positive self-talk is when you say good things. Oh, I'm good at this. Oh, look at there. Look at what I did. Ah, that's great. Positive self-talk is when you are complimenting yourself. Negative mindset is when you expect bad things will happen, when you struggle to perceive the world around you, when you struggle to perceive yourself in a positive way. In order to reframe our perspective, you have to think to yourself, okay, is this what I'm saying, the story I'm telling myself, or this thing, is it the truth? Am I being mean to myself? Am I being kind to myself? Am I giving myself the benefit of the doubt? Does this thing I'm telling myself, this story, does it give me the power to act, to do something about it? Am I living in this negative mindset? Because if I am, then I'm making things worse for myself. And I think that's why the law of attraction and stuff like that are so popular. This whole mindset of positivity and mindfulness, practicing these things are such a big thing, a big trend, and it goes in and out. Some people think it's a little too woo-woo, some of this stuff, but I think it makes a big difference. Gandhi said, "You must be the change you want to see in the world." And I think you have to start with yourself. If you want things to change, you have to start with yourself. And because we all have these judgments about ourselves, these judgments sometimes about others, even without knowing it, some people tend to be more positive or more negative. It's the whole glass half full, half empty thing. I tend to think of the glass as refillable or replaceable. When you go out to dinner, for me, if I'm having sweet tea, I'm great when the waitress is bringing, or the waiter is bringing my tea and they're refilling my tea. If they ask, I'm great. But if my tea or my water gets down to like next to nothing and they have not bothered to check on me or to refill or to ask if I need to refill, that is a pet peeve. As somebody who was in customer service, who was a waitress once upon a time, and a bartender, that's poor service. And it's a big thing for me. But when I'm looking at that glass, I know that it's refillable. And the thing that bothers me is that it's not being refilled. It is refillable. That's the positive thought. It is refillable. Doesn't matter how high or how low it goes, it is refillable. When we have this negative mindset, this negative self-talk, not only are we more prone to compare ourselves to others, we're also more prone to judge others. And all that does is promote more negativity and more unhappiness. You have to be able to set the judgment aside, and that is extremely hard. You can do it, but it is very hard. There are a lot of different techniques about negative self-talk, about how to get rid of that, about how to have a more positive mindset. People talk about how you need to identify it, and that's what I was talking about. Retreat, relax, recognize, rethink, reset. There are some other things that we can do. There are a lot of different things that we can do. But our negative mindset, because you're going to expect that bad things are going to happen. You're going to expect that you're not going to do well on something, or that you're not good enough at something. You're struggling to perceive that the world, that everything in your life, that, in a positive way. It's hard. Negative brings more negative. So if we want to change the negative self-talk, the negative mindset, we have to figure out, sometimes you have to figure out where it's coming from. It's like people are always talking about the why. And that, I think, is the case with some of the negative mindset, the negative self-talk. Are you unhappy about something? Is there something stressing you out? Because normally, if you have more stressors, there's more triggers, and things like that. I found a lot of things that were helpful and just talking about things, just journaling about things, getting things off my chest, out of my mind, off of the page back there, and so some of the things that I found is self-care. And I'm not just talking about like the face mask or a mani-pedi or having some me time, away from all the, a mini vacation. That's helpful. But I'm also talking about hydration. I'm talking about sleep. I'm talking about some physical exercise, moving your body. It's really easy sometimes when you have a more sedentary lifestyle to not do some of those things. You need to get up out of the chair, back away from the desk, take breaks, eat meals, take a walk. You could spend 5 to 50 minutes, whatever your preference is, meditating. Meditation decreases stress and anxiety. It improves mental and spiritual health. Another thing is laughter. They always say that laughter is the best medicine, and it is. And I'm not real big on comedians. There are few and far between that I actually find funny because I'm a rather serious, intense kind of person. But laughter is it is the best medicine. And what laughter does is it releases neuropeptides, which fight stress and other illnesses like anxiety and depression. It helps fight. I'm not saying it gets rid of, but if you can find something that makes you laugh. My son was telling me that he has this Reddit thing where he follows where it's videos only about things that make you say aw. It's called an aw. So it's dogs or cats or horses or hippos or anything that's like really cute and makes you go aw. And that kind of stuff I love that kind of stuff. Gratitude. People have been on this wave with the gratitude journals and the gratitude log and the gratitude, but it's actually I've been thinking about it, trying to find a word that I actually like, and what it is an attitude of thankfulness. That is what gratitude is, an attitude of thankfulness. Maya Angelou said, if you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude. If we can write down these things that we're thankful for, it's going to put us in a more positive mindset. It's been shown to have a big effect on our level of happiness and positivity. So if you're going through like a difficult time, and I learned this when I was in therapy, if you could actually find something that you are grateful for, an attitude of thankfulness, something that you are thankful for, even if it's itsy bitsy, it helps. So if you can take note of those things in a journal or each day, you could write. Some people put that in a line for the day or on a gratitude log or in a gratitude journal. Some people put that thing down on their calendar each day. They write like the one thing that they're thankful for. You can do it any number of ways. But a journaling is huge for me, because if I can start out writing. If I am having a particularly bad day with a negative self-talk, I start writing them down. What the judge, that monkey on my back, is saying to me, I write them down. I start writing them down. I'm writing them down. I start like listing a thing of pros and cons. And then when I've written them down, I go back, because I put them like a list order. And then I go back and I start with the first thing and I counter it. If I say, I'm really bad at follow through. I don't always finish projects. I don't always follow through. Then I can change that with, I'm learning to follow through. I finished this project. I'm really proud of myself. I finished this. I did this, and that helps. It does. It helps. Sometimes though, I'll just start journaling. And if I feel, if I'm having that negative, I'm in that negative mindset, I'm doing some of that negative self-talk, I start turning it around when I'm journaling. And that was something I learned with the Artist Way from Julia Cameron. Affirmations. Not everybody's into that, but I have a number of things. Like this is Spirit Junkie. It's a 52 card deck. It's by the same person who did The Universe Has Your Back, which are affirmation kind of cards. These are that same thing. Affirmations to help you shine your inner light. That's exactly what they are. They are inner affirmations. When we love and accept ourselves, we shine brightly, and that energy radiates outward, inspiring others to do the same. When we honor our inner light, we light up the world. Now, I love these kinds of things because they're really good about inspiring. Today's, all that I love is more important to me than all that I fear. So very true. Now, yesterday's was about positive, and I started that where I wrote down the chat for today. I started it with that affirmation. Every cell in my body is conscious and communicates with positive thoughts. I think affirmations are really good. I have sometimes when I really needed to boost the positive mindset, get rid of the negative self-talk, when I really need it, I'll write affirmations on Post-it notes and put them everywhere. Put it on my monitor, put it on my journal, put it on the bathroom mirror, put it on the fridge, and you can do it however you need to do it. Sometimes it might be a note. You don't have to be perfect. And I keep things like this to remind me. Having a bad day is okay. Small steps are also progress. Asking for help is strength. People love and appreciate you. Things that remind you so that we can focus more on the positive. I think it's natural sometimes for us to focus on the negative and ignore the positive, but the more that you practice focusing on things that are positive, that bring your attention towards the positive, the more you can focus on your strengths instead of your shortcomings or the good things that you've done instead of the mistakes. We don't have to be perfect. I think that the easier it is to become more optimistic about yourself and about life and the world in general, the more positive your mindset is. The last thing I have is play, fun, like recess. So I wrote down music, go to the park, swing on a swing, garden, whatever thing that you might need for that day. Music is really good. Getting outside is really good. Vitamin D, the sunshine is really good. There are all these different things that you can do that will promote a more positive mindset. Sometimes I start my day off in my journal with a quote. The quote for Wednesday the 13th said, "The secret is keeping busy and loving what you do." Lionel Hampton. One of the things about positive affirmations is they make us more aware of our thought processes, and they actually encourage self-compassion, which can help us retrain our inner dialogue. That is by psychotherapist Shelley Chodel. In closing, we're going to talk about what I've been practicing for the last couple of days. I picked it up from Tony Robbins. He was on Dr. Oz. I'm going to try to leave the links to the videos that I have referenced in here. This is what he said. To get a new result, you need a new action. To get a new action, you need to change your emotional state. To change your emotional state, you need a behavioral change. And to get that, you need a physical change. That's how. So this 2-minute Superwoman, Superman, Wonder Woman pose actually increases our positive self-image and our positive self-talk. Because what we're going to do is while we're in this pose for 2 minutes, we're going to start with a deep breath, and then you're going to say things that are good about yourself. Because that pose with your hands on your hips, the Superman, Wonder Woman pose, it's a powerful pose. It is power. It is strength. And that we're proud. We can conquer things. So I want to, whenever I do this in the mornings, I want to continue to think about those things that I am proud of. Think about those things that I am good at. Think about those things that I have been improving. Positive self-talk, which increases the positive mindset. And if you still are having like a lot of trouble with this, I would say maybe seek some professional help, maybe a therapist, or they have all different kinds of books. There are self-help books, all different kinds of things, but you might want to find some kind of thing to help you outside of trying to do it by yourself. Positivity is not easy to maintain. There are times when I manage it, when I can push past the pain and the anxiety and the depression and things like that. Because on those bad days when I'm in a lot of pain, on bad days when I'm having a rough day with anxiety, rough day with ADHD, it's harder. But that positive feeling that you get whenever you can do things like that 2 minutes of, or whenever you can remind yourself of the things that you've done that were good, if you can put yourself in that positive mindset, start it with something very little. Because it's a constant struggle, though, there are things that I've found that help, from the smallest struggle to the bigger struggles. Epictetus said, men are disturbed not by the things which happen, but by the opinions about things. My opinion about myself is probably some days one of the most disturbing things, because of the negative self-talk, the negative mindset. So I have to reframe that negative self-talk, reframe that negative opinion of myself. So I'm going to end this with one of my very favorite quotes from a movie that makes me laugh, that I still enjoy, and I'm a huge Johnny Depp fan. Jack Sparrow in Pirates of the Caribbean said, "The problem is not the problem. The problem is your attitude about the problem." Do you understand? Thank you so much for being here. I hope y'all have a great day. Thank you. Thank you. And I will see y'all again really soon with another video. We're going to do a plan with me because I've been changing a few things. Temporarily, I wanted to challenge myself this week to be more functional, more minimal, because that's one of the things that I feel very negative about, is how messy and unaesthetically pleasing sometimes my pages are compared to other people's, which are more minimal, more functional. Even the ones that aren't are more aesthetically pleasing because of sticker kits or all these different things, and or just just completely and utterly minimal. People's neat, very small handwriting. I don't write very small, and nor do I write all that neat all the time. Whenever I'm taking notes or I have a thought and I write it over to the side, it's going to be messy. My journals, my planners look lived in. And when I see some of these journals, planners on Instagram and YouTube, they don't look lived in to me. They don't look messy. There's no mess whatsoever at all. It's all perfectly neat. I don't know. I'm wondering if maybe they have a second one. Not everybody. I'm wondering if they have one that's for social media specifically, or maybe, I don't know. Because how can you be that neat, that orderly, that pristine all the time? Do they never make mistakes? Or maybe they're just not showing. But when they do flip throughs, I don't really see them either. And here I am trying to embrace the fact that you don't have to be perfect. And so this seems counterproductive. I want to get it out of my head that I can't do functional planning. And I think that my problem is because my pages are so busy with stickers and post-it notes and things like that, that's what I'm seeing, and that's why it looks messy, because it has so much stuff on the pages, because I include so much of real life in my pages. So when I wrote today's notes, they don't look as messy. Now I do have things over to the side, but it doesn't look as messy. This is an old Hobonichi from last year, but I took the old pages out that were just, and the calendars out, because I don't need the calendars. They're from last year. I'm using up the paper. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget to do the YouTube things. So like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, share, comment. All of those things help the analytics, which helps other people find my channel, because my channel is more likely to be recommended whenever you do all of those wonderful YouTube things. Thank you. Bye, y'all.